court will call State of Wisconsin versus Darrell E. Brooks, case number 21 CF 1848. May I have the appearances, please?
Yes, good morning, Judge. Sue Apper, Leslie Basie, and Zach Witchow appearing for the State of Wisconsin.
Good morning, sir. Please state your name for the record.
I'm here as a third-party intervener in that matter, appearing as authorized representative for my client. I accept for value and return for value all of the charging instruments in this matter and make my exemption available for discharge of all obligations and charges connected with this case. I do not dispute any of the facts in these charging instruments, and I do not consent to or agree to being called that name, Your Honor.
All right, the record should reflect that the individual known to this court as Darrell Brooks is appearing in person in custody. He is also in civilian or street clothing, in a suit and tie, also wearing a mask. Mr. Brooks, I know today you're also not wearing headsets. I just want to make a record. Yesterday, they were offered to you, even charged. The different charging unit was provided. I did not see you wearing the headset at any point in time. And from my perspective, given your either legal arguments made, comments to the court, or questioning of witnesses that you were able to hear, but I just feel it important, given that you raised that issue, to put that on the record. I do want to address the case law that was filed by Mr. Brooks. I have a question, sir, because you had indicated there was this United States v. Lopez. I had looked up a case. I don't know if it's the one that you were referring to. I asked you if it was from 1995. You thought it was. Have you been able to look through your documents to tell me which United States versus Lopez you were referring?
I have not, but I also cited Hagens versus Levine as well, 415 U.S. 533, or I think you may have corrected
I was able
that.
to find Hagens versus Levine and Malo versus United States. I also found a case that is captioned United States versus Lopez at 514 U.S. 549. That's a case from, it was decided in 1995. It had to do with the, in part, with the
Jurisdiction?
No, it had to do with a provision in the federal statutes regarding the gun safe free zone and whether that was constitutional or not. It was a criminal case, but nonetheless, that was one of the major issues in that case. So I don't know if that's the case you were referring or not. And without a citation, it's hard for me to know. So that's why I'm asking you if you have any other information about that case.
I can possibly look on a break, but my understanding of that particular case was dealing with the specifics of subject matter and personal jurisdiction, which is why it was brought up for the record, which is something that I have been doing adamantly, is asking for the court to provide verified proof of jurisdiction, which I have not been provided with as of yet.
Court's not required to do that, sir. I understand what your objection is. It's been noted for the record multiple times. And the previous rulings of the court stand. I see no reason to revisit those issues, or what we call legally a motion for reconsideration, even if I were to take your reference to these cases as a request to reconsider based on a new legal argument. The cases that I reviewed don't support that. I do want to give the state an opportunity to at least make a record as to their position, and then I'll give you the last word if you want to make a legal argument to the contrary.
I do.
All right, so go ahead. I believe Attorney Basie, you were going to do that.
I was.
Your Honor, I did review the U.S. versus Lopez, the Lopez case that you cited at 514 U.S. 549. As the court already indicated, it deals with the Gun-Free School Zone Act, which is a federal offense. The court found that that Congress exceeded its authority under the Commerce Clause, and therefore there was no jurisdiction. I don't find any analogy between that case and this case. Again, I'm not sure if that is the Lopez case that the defendant was referring to. With regard to Malo versus United States, this was a case involving an accident that the plaintiff had with an employee of the U.S. Postal Service who was driving a U.S. postal truck, and the issue became whether or not there was a valid claim against the U.S. Postal Service as a result of a claim filed against the employee, and the court held that there was not, and therefore jurisdiction was not conferred to the United States. Again, not a case that is on point with any issue that's been raised in this case. And finally, Hagens versus Levine at 415 U.S. 533. Again, this is one in which the district court was found to have had jurisdiction to hear the plaintiff's claim. It was a case in which a New York, state of New York regulation addressed New York's ability to recoup some payments from AFDC, I believe, and there was a claim that violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The court did find that the district court did have jurisdiction to hear the plaintiff's claim. Again, I did not find any verbiage from any of these three cases that would raise any type of argument in this case that this court does not have jurisdiction to hear this case.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks, your response.
Yeah, I respectfully object to that. It's clear in both of those cases that ultimately those cases were called correct by the Supreme Court, in that both cases ended up being voided because there was no jurisdiction. Same thing in this case. How it applies is this court has yet to prove that it has jurisdiction. It has not been proven. There's been no certified document paperwork. There's been no proof. There's been no response to the demand for the statement of particulars. There's been no response to we haven't even established that the plaintiff is a living human being and not an entity. There's so many things that have yet to even be proven. And again, if both cases that were just cited were voided by the Supreme Court for lack of jurisdiction, how is this case any different?
Thank you for your arguments, sir. First of all, the Hagens and the Malo decisions, or Malo, these were civil lawsuits. They weren't criminal cases.